I stared at the hotel room door, my hand trembling as I gripped the keycard Min Suk had carelessly left on his desk. 2 years. 2 years of excuses, apologies, and empty promises. 2 years of believing that love could conquer anything, that patience and forgiveness would eventually transform him into the partner I deserved. The hallway felt endless as I walked toward room 1147, each step heavier than the last. My heart hammered against my rib cage, and I could feel my Omega instincts screaming at me to turn back, to preserve the fragile peace I'd convinced myself we had. But I was tired, so incredibly tired of being the only one fighting for us. When I opened the door, the world tilted on its axis. There he was, Min Suk, my boyfriend of 2 years, tangled in the sheets with my secretary Ji-won. The woman I trusted to manage my schedule, to handle confidential business matters, to be professional. The betrayal cut deeper than any knife could. So June. Min Suk scrambled from the bed, his face pale with panic. This isn't I can explain. Don't. My voice came out steadier than I felt, cold and distant. Don't insult me further with your lies. Ji-won had the decency to look ashamed, clutching the sheets to her chest. But Min Suk? He reached for me with those hands that had held me through countless nights, hands that had wiped away my tears when the pressure from my family became too much. Baby, please, it was a mistake. You know how much I love you. I'll end things with her right now. I'll do anything. You've said that before. I stepped back, refusing to let him touch me. After the bartender. After your ex. After every single time you've broken my trust and then bought me expensive gifts thinking that would fix everything. My hands clenched into fists at my sides. I was an SS-class Omega, stronger than most low-class alphas, wealthier than Min Suk could ever dream of being, and yet I'd let this man reduce me to someone who accepted crumbs of affection disguised as love. So June, don't do this. You need me. Need you? A bitter laugh escaped my lips. I've built an empire from nothing after walking away from the Kim Chable family. I've survived their expectations, their pressure, their attempts to mold me into something I wasn't. What exactly do I need you for, Min Suk? The mental exhaustion? The physical stress of wondering where you are and who you're with? He reached for me again, but I was already turning toward the door. We're done. Move your things out of my penthouse by tomorrow, or I'll have security do it for you. You'll regret this, he shouted as I walked away, his true colors finally showing. You think anyone else will want a broken Omega like you? You'll come crawling back. I didn't dignify that with a response. The door clicked shut behind me, and with it I closed the chapter on romantic love forever. 3 months had passed since that day, and I'd thrown myself into work with renewed vigor. My company, SJ Enterprises, had just closed a deal that would expand our operations throughout Southeast Asia. The financial success should have filled the void in my chest, but instead, it only emphasized how empty my personal life had become. I sat in my home office, the floor-to-ceiling windows offering a breathtaking view of Seoul's skyline. At 32, I had everything money could buy: a penthouse apartment in Gangnam, luxury cars, designer clothes, respect in the business world. Everything except what I truly wanted: a family. My phone buzzed with another message from my mother. They'd been reaching out more frequently lately, my parents and siblings suddenly interested in reconciliation after years of silence. I deleted the message without reading it. The Kim family had made their choice when they demanded I marry a suitable Omega from another Chable family, when they dismissed my dreams and tried to control every aspect of my life. I'd made mine when I walked away at 26 with nothing but my trust fund and determination. But their persistence had planted a seed in my mind. Family. Legacy. Love that wasn't conditional or toxic. I opened my laptop and began researching, my heart racing with a possibility I'd never considered before. IVF. In vitro fertilization. Male Omegas could carry children, and with modern medical technology, I didn't need a partner to become a parent. The idea consumed me for weeks. I could have a baby, someone to love unconditionally, someone who would never manipulate or betray me. I could build the family I'd always dreamed of on my own terms. Dr. Lee's clinic was the most prestigious fertility center in Seoul, known for their discretion and success rates. The building was modern and welcoming, designed to put anxious patients at ease. I'd scheduled a consultation, and as I sat in the waiting room, my hands wouldn't stop trembling. Mr. Kim? A nurse called my name, and I followed her through pristine white hallways to Dr. Lee's office. Dr. Lee was a woman in her 50s with kind eyes and a gentle demeanor. She shook my hand warmly and gestured for me to sit. It's a pleasure to meet you, Mr. Kim. I understand you're interested in our IVF program? Yes. I cleared my throat, trying to project confidence despite my nervousness. I want to have a child. I'm financially stable, emotionally ready, and I've done extensive research on single omega parenthood. She smiled, pulling out a tablet to take notes. That's wonderful. Let me explain the process and what we'll need to determine if you're a suitable candidate. Over the next hour, Dr. Lee walked me through everything: hormone treatments, egg retrieval, genetic screening, and the timeline. She explained that they had a database of alpha sperm donors, all rigorously tested and screened. We currently have a donation from a low-class alpha who needed funds for his family's medical expenses, she said. He's healthy, intelligent, and his genetic profile is excellent. Would you like to review his information? My heart soared. Yes, please. The following weeks were a blur of medical tests, hormone injections, and counseling sessions. Every test came back positive. I was in perfect health, my body ready to carry a child. The psychological evaluation confirmed what I already knew. I was doing this for the right reasons, not as a replacement for romantic love but as a genuine desire to be a parent. Finally, 6 weeks after the procedure, I sat in Dr. Lee's office again, my hands folded in my lap as I waited for her to speak. She called me in urgently, her voice tight with stress over the phone. Mr. Kim, there's been a serious complication. Dr. Lee's face was pale, her usual composure shaken. The sperm sample used for your IVF? It wasn't the donated sample. My blood ran cold. What do you mean? There was a mix-up in our storage facility. The sample used was from one of our cryopreservation clients, someone who stored their genetic material for future use. She paused, her hands trembling slightly. Mr. Kim, the father of your baby is Kang Dong-woo. The name hit me like a physical blow. Everyone in Seoul knew that name. Kang Dong-woo, the ruthless alpha who controlled half of the city's underground operations. The man whose very name made hardened criminals shake with fear. The phantom of Seoul's underworld who was whispered about in equal parts terror and awe. That's impossible, I whispered. How could this happen? We're conducting a full investigation and we'll cover all costs related to. I'm keeping the baby. The words came out fierce and certain. Despite the shock, despite the fear, my hand moved instinctively to my still flat stomach. This was my child. Nothing would change that. Dr. Lee's eyes widened. Mr. Kim, you need to understand the implications. Kang Dong-woo is not a man to be trifled with. When he finds out, then make sure he doesn't. I stood, my SS-class Omega strength making my presence commanding despite my Omega status. This is my baby, Dr. Lee. What? I didn't ask for this complication, but I'm not terminating my pregnancy because of a medical error. She nodded slowly. I understand. But Mr. Kim, we're legally obligated to inform him. He has rights as the biological father. I left the clinic in a daze, my mind racing with impossible scenarios. How could my dream of a peaceful, happy life as a single parent have become so complicated? I'd wanted to escape drama and toxicity, and instead I was now connected to the most dangerous man in Seoul. That night I stood on my balcony, looking out over the glittering city lights. My hand rested on my stomach where a tiny life was beginning to grow. It's okay, I whispered to my unborn child. I'll protect you no matter what. We'll figure this out together. I had no idea that at that very moment, across the city, Kang Dong-woo was receiving a phone call that would change both our lives forever. The knock on my door came at midnight, 3 days after my appointment with Dr. Lee. I'd been expecting it, dreading it, but the reality of opening my door to find 6 men in black suits still made my heart race. Mr. Kim So-jun? The lead man's voice was respectful but firm. Mr. Kang requests your presence. And if I refuse? I kept my voice steady despite my fear. Mr. Kang was very clear that this is not optional. However, he assures your safety and comfort. The man gestured to a black sedan waiting at the curb. Please, sir. I could have called the police, could have used my family's connections to resist. But what would be the point? If Kang Dong-woo wanted something, he got it. Better to face this on my own terms. The drive took us out of Gangnam, through increasingly unfamiliar neighborhoods, until we arrived at a sprawling estate hidden behind high walls and security gates. The mansion was modern and luxurious, nothing like the dark, threatening lair I'd imagined for Seoul's most feared crime lord. Inside, I was led through marble hallways adorned with expensive art until we reached a study lined with books. And there, standing by the window with a glass of whiskey in his hand, was Kang Dong-woo. He was nothing like I expected. Yes, he was imposing, tall and powerfully built, with the presence of a true dominant alpha. But he was also devastatingly handsome, with sharp features, dark eyes that seemed to see everything, and an air of controlled danger that made my Omega instincts simultaneously scream at me to run and to submit. Mr. Kim So-jun. His voice was deep, smooth like aged whiskey. Thank you for coming. Did I have a choice? I kept my chin up, refusing to be intimidated. A slight smile touched his lips. No. But I appreciate you not making this difficult. He gestured to a leather chair across from his desk. Please sit. We have much to discuss. I sat, my back straight, hands folded in my lap. You know about the baby. I do. He moved to sit across from me, his gaze intense. Dr. Lee called me 4 days ago. I've had my people investigating the clinic's error. Heads will roll for this incompetence. It's not the baby's fault, I said quickly, protectively. Whatever happened, whatever mistakes were made. I agree. He cut me off, leaning forward. Which is why you and the child will be moving here, under my protection, effective immediately. I stood abruptly. Absolutely not. I didn't come here to be ordered around. This is my baby. Our baby. His voice dropped to a dangerous growl, his alpha presence flooding the room. That child carries my blood, my genetics. Do you think I would abandon my own offspring? Allow them to grow up without my protection in a world full of enemies who would use them against me? I can protect myself and my child. I'm an SS class Omega, stronger than most alphas. I have resources, security. Against rival gangs? Against people who would kidnap or kill an innocent child to hurt me? He stood as well, and suddenly we were face to face, the tension crackling between us. You're carrying my heir, Mr. Kim. That makes you a target. Every enemy I've made in the past 15 years will see you as a weakness to exploit. The reality of his words sank in, and I felt my legs weaken. I'd been so focused on the baby, on my own plans, that I hadn't considered the larger implications. I never asked for this, I whispered. His expression softened slightly. Neither did I. I stored my genetic material as a precaution. If I died in the line of work, my bloodline wouldn't end. I never intended to have children naturally. But here we are. He reached out, his hand hovering near my arm but not quite touching. I won't force you to stay here tonight. But I'm assigning a security team to watch your building. Think about what I've said. For the baby's sake, if not your own. I left the mansion in a daze, my mind whirling with impossible choices. The security team was discreet but present, black SUVs parked near my building, men in suits stationed at strategic points. Knowing they were there should have felt threatening, but instead I felt protected. That night, I dreamed of dark eyes and dangerous promises, and I hated how safe I'd felt in Kang Dong-woo's presence. 2 weeks passed in an uneasy stalemate. I continued working from home, my company running smoothly despite my distraction. Dong-woo, he'd insisted I call him by his given name, called every evening to check on me and the baby. The conversations were initially stiff and formal, but gradually they became comfortable. Have you been eating properly? His deep voice filled my ear as I curled up on my sofa with a bowl of ramen. Yes, mother hen, I teased, surprising myself with the playfulness. I had a balanced breakfast and lunch. This is just a craving. At 11 p.m.? I could hear the smile in his voice. What kind of craving? Spicy ramen with extra cheese and those little fish cakes. My mouth watered just thinking about it. And maybe some banana milk. That's an interesting combination. There was a pause. I'm sending someone with proper food. Growing babies need nutrition, not just sodium and processed noodles. Dong-woo. No arguments. And so June? His voice softened. How are you really feeling? Any morning sickness? Fatigue. The concern in his tone made my chest tight. A little nauseous in the mornings. And I'm tired all the time, but Dr. Lee says that's normal for the first trimester. I want to be there for your next appointment. I clutched the phone tighter. What? This doesn't have to be. We don't have to be together for you to be involved with the baby. I know. His response was quiet. But I want to be there anyway. Please, So June. Something in his voice made me agree, and 3 days later, we sat together in Dr. Lee's office as she performed an ultrasound. The moment the baby's heartbeat filled the room, a rapid, strong flutter, everything changed. Dong-woo's hand found mine, squeezing gently. When I looked at him, his eyes were suspiciously bright. That's our baby, he whispered, his voice filled with awe. That's really our baby. Dr. Lee smiled at us. Everything looks perfect. The baby is developing right on schedule. Now, Mr. Kim, I need to warn you that Omega pregnancies, especially for SS-class carriers, can come with intense hormonal fluctuations. You might experience mood swings, unusual cravings, and a heightened need for physical comfort from the child's alpha parent. What do you mean by physical comfort? I asked warily. Omega instincts during pregnancy are ancient and powerful. Your body knows who the father is, and it will crave his presence, his scent, his touch, his protection. It's biology, not weakness. Many omega carriers find themselves becoming distressed when separated from their child's alpha parent for too long. I looked at Dongwoo, who was watching me with an intensity that made my skin tingle. "I'll be whatever you need me to be," he said softly. "No pressure, no expectations. Just, let me take care of you both." That night at 2 a.m. I woke up crying. I didn't know why, just that I felt overwhelmingly sad and alone, and no amount of logic could stop the tears. My hands cradled my small baby bump as I sobbed into my pillow. My phone rang. "Dongwoo. So June?" I felt, something's wrong. "Talk to me." "I'm fine," I hiccuped, trying to hide my tears. "Just hormones." "I'm coming over." "No, you don't have to. I'm already on my way. I'll be there in 10 minutes. He made it in 8. When I opened the door, still in my pajamas with tears streaming down my face, he didn't say a word. He just pulled me into his arms, his large hand cradling the back of my head as I cried into his chest. "It's okay," he murmured, his alpha pheromones washing over me in soothing waves. "I've got you. You're safe. The baby's safe." We ended up on my sofa, me curled against his side as he rubbed slow circles on my back. His warmth, his scent, pine and leather and something uniquely him, calmed my omega instincts in a way nothing else could. "I'm sorry," I whispered. "This is exactly what I didn't want. To be dependent on anyone again. This isn't dependency, Sojun. This is biology. Our baby needs us both." His hand moved to rest on my stomach and I felt the baby flutter, the first movement I'd felt. "Did you feel that?" "Yes." Wonder filled my voice. The baby responded to you." From that night on, Dongwoo started staying over more frequently. Not every night and never pushing for more than I was comfortable with, but enough that I began to rely on his presence. He'd rub my feet when they swelled, cook me elaborate meals to satisfy bizarre pregnancy cravings, and hold me when the hormonal storms hit. One evening as I sat on the floor working on my laptop, my back began to ache terribly. I shifted, trying to find a comfortable position, but nothing helped. "What's wrong?" Dongwoo looked up from his own work. "My back hurts. The baby's getting bigger and, oh." I gasped as the pain intensified. He was beside me in an instant, his hands gently guiding me to lie on my side. "Where does it hurt?" "Lower back, right here." I gestured helplessly. His strong hands began to massage the aching muscles, and I couldn't help the moan of relief that escaped. "Is this okay?" he asked, his voice slightly rough. "More than okay. Don't stop." His hands worked magic, easing the tension and pain. But as he massaged, something shifted in the air between us. His touch became more deliberate, his breathing deeper. When his hand accidentally brushed the side of my breast, we both froze. "So June," he whispered, his voice strained. "You should know. My alpha instincts around you are becoming harder to control. Every time I'm near you, all I want to do is protect you, provide for you, and—" He stopped abruptly. "And what?" My voice came out breathier than I intended. "Claim you. Mark you. Make you mine in every way possible." His honesty was startling. I've never felt this way about anyone. I've had relationships, physical encounters, but nothing that made my alpha scream at me to possess someone completely. Until you. I turned to face him, my heart pounding. "I'm scared," I admitted. Min Suk destroyed my faith in romance. What if this is just biology? Hormones and pheromones and nothing real? He cupped my face gently. "Then we take it slow. We figure it out together. I'm not asking you to trust me blindly, so June. I'm asking you to give us a chance to see what this could be." The pregnancy progressed, and with it, my resistance to Dongwoo crumbled bit by bit. He moved into my penthouse at 16 weeks, claiming the guest room but spending most nights in my bed, just holding me, nothing more. My body craved his presence so intensely that sleeping without him became nearly impossible. At 20 weeks, we had another ultrasound. "Would you like to know the baby's gender?" Dr. Lee asked with a smile. I looked at Dongwoo and he squeezed my hand. "Together," he said. "Whatever you want." "Yes," I breathed. "Please tell us." "Congratulations. You're having a healthy baby boy. A son." We were having a son. Dongwoo's face transformed with joy, and before I knew what was happening, he was kissing me, soft and gentle, but filled with such emotion that tears sprang to my eyes. "Thank you," he whispered against my lips. "Thank you for giving me this gift." That night, the baby was particularly active, kicking and rolling. I sat on the couch, my shirt pulled up, watching my belly move with fascination and slight discomfort. "He's really going at it tonight," Dongwoo observed, settling beside me. "Can I?" I guided his hand to where the baby was kicking. His eyes widened with wonder as our son kicked against his palm. "He knows his father," I said softly. He's always more active when you're around. Smart kid. Dongwoo's other hand came up to cradle my face. So June, I need to tell you something. These past months with you have been the happiest of my life. I know my world is dangerous and dark, but when I'm with you, everything feels brighter. You and this baby, you're my light. Dongwoo. You don't have to say anything back. I just needed you to know. He leaned in, his forehead resting against mine. I'm falling in love with you, Kim So-jun. Not just because you're carrying my child, but because of who you are. Strong, brilliant, kind despite everything you've been through. You're the most beautiful person I've ever met, inside and out. My breath caught. Every rational part of me screamed that this was too fast, too intense. But my heart and my Omega instincts sang a different tune. Kiss me, I whispered. Really kiss me this time. His lips claimed mine with a hunger that had been building for months. The kiss was deep and consuming, his tongue sliding against mine as his hand tangled in my hair. I moaned into his mouth, my body igniting with desire I hadn't felt since before Min Suk's betrayal. So June, he groaned, pulling back slightly. Are you sure? I don't want to pressure you. I'm sure. I tugged him closer, my hands sliding under his shirt to feel the hard planes of his chest. I need you, Dongwoo. I've needed you for weeks now. He lifted me effortlessly, carrying me to the bedroom. He laid me down gently on the bed, his eyes dark with desire as he looked down at my pregnant form. You're so beautiful like this, he murmured, his hands caressing my swollen belly reverently. Carrying our son. You're everything I never knew I wanted. His lips trailed down my neck, finding that sensitive spot that made me arch against him. Touch me, I begged, all pride abandoned in the face of overwhelming need. Please, Dongwoo. He undressed me slowly, worshipfully, his mouth following the path of his hands. When he reached my belly, he pressed kisses all over the stretched skin. Hello, little one, he whispered to our baby. Papa's going to take care of your father now. Be good. I laughed breathlessly at the tender moment, but my laughter turned to moans as his hands moved lower, stroking and teasing. He knew exactly how to touch me, where to apply pressure, driving me wild with wanting. You're so responsive, he praised, his voice rough with desire. So perfect. When he finally positioned himself between my legs, I was trembling with anticipation. Slowly, I gasped. The baby. I'll be careful. I promise. He entered me gradually, his cucumber sliding into my warmth inch by inch. The sensation was intense, overwhelming, perfect. We both groaned as he filled me completely. He moved with careful precision, mindful of my pregnant state but still managing to drive me toward ecstasy with each deliberate thrust. His hands were everywhere, stroking my belly, playing with my sensitive chest, tangling in my hair. So beautiful, he breathed, his hips rolling in a rhythm that had me seeing stars. My Omega. Mine. Yours, I agreed mindlessly, lost in sensation. Dongwoo, please. He knew what I needed, adjusting his angle until he was hitting that perfect spot inside me that made me cry out. The pleasure built and built, spiraling higher until I shattered, my body clenching around him as waves of bliss crashed over me. My release triggered his own, and he groaned my name as he found his completion, his seed filling me deeply. He collapsed beside me carefully, immediately pulling me against his chest. I love you, I whispered into the darkness, the words feeling both terrifying and right. I didn't plan to, but I love you, Kang Dongwoo. His arms tightened around me, his face buried in my neck. I love you too, So-jun. So much it scares me. I've killed men without hesitation, destroyed lives without remorse, but the thought of losing you or our son terrifies me more than anything else in this world. We lay tangled together, my hand on my belly where I could feel our son moving, and for the first time since Min Suk's betrayal, I believed in happy endings again. At 28 weeks pregnant, I finally agreed to see my family. My mother had been calling weekly, leaving tearful voicemails begging for a chance to meet her grandchild. Dongwoo had encouraged me to reconcile, reminding me that our son deserved to know his grandparents if they were willing to accept us. The Kim family mansion looked exactly as I remembered, imposing and cold, despite its architectural beauty. Dongwoo held my hand as we approached the door, his presence giving me courage. We can leave whenever you want, he murmured. Just say the word. The butler opened the door, his eyes widening when he saw me, specifically my very pregnant belly. Young Master So-jun, please come in. The family is waiting in the main sitting room. My mother burst into tears the moment she saw me. So-jun. Oh, my baby boy. She rushed forward, her hands hovering near my stomach as if afraid to touch. You're really pregnant. My grandchild. Hello, mother. I kept my voice neutral, years of hurt not so easily forgotten. My father stood more formally, but I could see emotion in his eyes. Son, thank you for coming. His gaze moved to Dongwu, and I watched recognition and fear flash across his face. Mr. Kong. This is unexpected. Dongwu's arm wrapped protectively around my waist. Mr. Kim. Mrs. Kim. I'm here as So-jun's partner and the father of his child. I hope that won't be a problem. My younger sister, Ji-hai, gaped at us. You're with Kong Dongwu? The Kong Dongwu? So-jun, are you insane? Ji-hai. My mother scolded. That's enough. We sat in the formal sitting room, tension thick in the air. My mother couldn't stop staring at my belly, her hands clasped together as if physically restraining herself from touching. We owe you an apology, my father began stiffly. We were wrong to pressure you to try to control your life. We thought we knew what was best, but we only succeeded in driving you away. You wanted me to be someone I wasn't, I said quietly. You tried to force me into a marriage for business purposes, to live a life that would have made me miserable. You didn't care about my happiness. We cared, my mother protested, tears streaming down her face. We didn't show it the right way. We were so focused on tradition, on appearances, that we forgot what truly mattered, your happiness. And now you're starting a family and we've missed so much. She looked at Dongwu uncertainly. Mr. Kong, I don't know you, but I can see how you look at my son. Please, will you let us be part of this baby's life? Dongwu looked at me, leaving the decision in my hands. I thought about our son growing up without extended family, about the loneliness I'd felt these past years. On my terms, I said firmly. I'm not moving back home. I'm not joining the family business. I'm not going to pretend the past didn't happen. But our son deserves grandparents. If you can accept me as I am, accept my choices, then yes. You can be part of his life. My mother was hugging me before I could blink, sobbing into my shoulder. Thank you. Thank you, So-jun. I promise we'll do better. We'll be better. The visit was exhausting but healing in ways I hadn't expected. As we drove back to the penthouse, Dongwu's hand rested on my thigh, his thumb drawing soothing circles. You did well, he said softly. That took courage. They hurt me for so long, I admitted. But you're right, our son deserves better than the cycle of pain and estrangement. Maybe we can break it. We will. His certainty warmed me. Our family will be built on love, not obligation. That night, as I lay in bed with Dongwu's hand on my belly, feeling our son kick against his palm, I felt truly hopeful about the future for the first time in years. At 32 weeks, my pregnancy cravings reached absurd levels. I'd wake Dongwu at 3 a.m. demanding the most random food combinations, and he'd indulge every single request without complaint. So June, are you sure you want pickles with chocolate ice cream? He stood in our kitchen, looking skeptically at the concoction he was preparing. Yes, the baby wants it. I sat at the counter, my belly so large now that simple tasks had become challenging. And some of those spicy rice cakes from that street vendor in Hongdae. The one that's 40 minutes away? He raised an eyebrow but was already grabbing his keys. Anything else while I'm risking my life in traffic? You're making fun of me. I pouted, hormones making me more emotional than usual. He was beside me in an instant, tilting my chin up to kiss me softly. I'm not making fun. I think it's adorable. I'd drive to Busan and back if it made you and our son happy. His hand rubbed my belly lovingly. Besides, he's going to be here soon. Let me spoil you both while I can. Tears sprang to my eyes. I love you so much. How did I get so lucky? I'm the lucky one, my Omega. He kissed away my tears. Now, let me go get those rice cakes before you cry harder and I can't leave. While he was gone, I felt the baby shift, and suddenly there was intense pressure on my bladder. I waddled to the bathroom, catching sight of myself in the mirror. My belly was enormous, my body changed in ways I'd never imagined. I looked tired and swollen and nothing like the polished businessman I'd once been. And yet, I'd never felt more beautiful because Dongwu looked at me like I was the most precious thing in the world. He returned an hour later with not just the rice cakes but an entire feast from various restaurants. I got extra, he said sheepishly. I wasn't sure what else you might want. We sat on the floor of our living room, easier than trying to get me comfortable on the sofa, and shared the food. Dongwu hand-fed me bites of this and that, making sure I ate properly and not just the weird combinations. I need to tell you something, he said suddenly, his expression serious. About my business. I stiffened slightly. We'd avoided talking in detail about his criminal empire, maintaining a comfortable ignorance. Okay. I'm getting out. His words shocked me. Not immediately, it's not that simple. But I've been planning my exit for months now. Transitioning to legitimate businesses, setting up my lieutenants to take over the illegal operations. I want our son to grow up with a father who doesn't constantly risk his life, who doesn't have blood on his hands. Dong-woo. I've been a criminal for 15 years, So-jun. I've done terrible things, hurt people, destroyed lives. I can't undo any of that. But I can choose differently for the future. For you and our son. He took my hand, his expression vulnerable in a way I'd rarely seen. I want to be a father he can be proud of. I want to be a man you can be proud of. I cupped his face in my hands, tears streaming down my cheeks. I'm already proud of you. The man you've been to me these past months, caring, gentle, protective, loving, that's who you really are beneath everything else. Our son will know that man. He'll grow up surrounded by love. Promise me something, he whispered. If anything happens to me during the transition, if my enemies come for me, don't. I pressed my fingers to his lips. Don't talk like that. You're going to be fine. We're going to be fine. All three of us. He pulled me into his arms as carefully as my belly allowed, and we sat there on the floor, holding each other and dreaming of the future. Labor started at 2 in the morning on a Tuesday, 3 weeks before my due date. I woke to a sharp pain in my lower back and the wet sensation of my water breaking. Dong-woo. I shook him awake urgently. Dong-woo, it's time. He was alert instantly, moving with military precision. Okay. Deep breaths. I've got the hospital bag ready, the car is in the garage, your doctor is on call. Another contraction hit and I cried out, gripping his arm. Call Dr. Lee. Now. The drive to the hospital was the longest 20 minutes of my life. Dong-woo held my hand, murmuring words of encouragement while simultaneously coordinating with the hospital and his security team. By the time we arrived, a private suite was ready, and Dr. Lee was waiting. You're doing great, So-jun, she said after examining me. You're at 6 centimeters already. This baby is eager to meet his parents. The hours that followed were a blur of pain, exhaustion, and Dong-woo's constant presence. He never left my side, letting me squeeze his hand during contractions, wiping sweat from my forehead, telling me how strong I was, how much he loved me. I can't do this, I gasped during a particularly brutal contraction. It hurts too much. Yes, you can. Dong-woo's voice was firm but loving. You're the strongest person I know, So-jun. You survived your family's pressure, built an empire from nothing, and you're about to bring our son into this world. You can do anything. When it was finally time to push, I was exhausted beyond measure. But feeling Dong-woo's hand in mine, hearing his encouragement, I found strength I didn't know I possessed. One more push, Dr. Lee urged. Come on, So-jun. Your baby is almost here. With a final desperate push, our son entered the world, his cries filling the room with the most beautiful sound I'd ever heard. He's perfect, Dr. Lee announced, placing him on my chest. Congratulations, Papas. I looked down at the tiny red-faced baby in my arms, and my heart exploded with love. He was perfect, absolutely perfect. 10 tiny fingers, 10 tiny toes, a shock of dark hair and his father's nose. Hello, baby, I whispered through tears. I'm your papa. We've been waiting so long to meet you. Dong-woo was crying too, his large hand gently stroking our son's tiny head. He's incredible. So-jun, you're incredible. Thank you for this. Thank you for giving me a family. We decided to name him Kang Min-ho, Min for brightness and Ho for goodness. A name full of hope for a better, brighter future. The first weeks with Min-ho were exhausting and magical in equal measure. Dong-woo proved to be a natural father, changing diapers without complaint, walking the floors during late-night fussy periods, and looking at our son with such adoration it made my heart ache. My family visited frequently, my mother completely besotted with her grandson. Even my father, always so formal and distant, melted when holding Min-ho. Watching them shower our son with love helped heal wounds I'd thought would never close. 3 months after Min-ho's birth, Dong-woo officially announced his retirement from criminal activities. The transition had been dangerous, 2 attempts on his life, countless negotiations with rivals, but he'd survived. He now ran a legitimate security consulting firm, using his expertise for legal purposes. No more looking over my shoulder, he said one evening as we sat together, Min-ho asleep between us. No more wondering if today's the day someone finally succeeds in killing me. I'm done with that life. I'm so proud of you, I murmured, leaning against his shoulder. I know that wasn't easy. Nothing worthwhile ever is. He kissed the top of my head. But this, you Min-ho, this family we've built, it's worth every sacrifice. Min-ho stirred, his tiny hand reaching out. Dong-woo immediately offered his finger and our son gripped it tightly. He's so strong, Dong-woo marveled. Just like his papa. He has your stubbornness, I countered with a smile. And your protective instincts. The other day at the park, he cried when another baby got too close to me. That's my boy. Dongwoo grinned proudly. Already knows his papa is the most precious thing in the world. Later that night, after Minho was asleep in his nursery and we lay tangled in our bed, Dongwoo pulled a small box from his nightstand. I've been waiting for the right moment, he said, his voice slightly nervous. I know we did everything backward, baby first, living together, falling in love. But I want to do this part right. He opened the box to reveal a stunning ring, a simple platinum band with a single diamond. Kim So-jun, you changed my life the moment I learned about our son. You've given me purpose, love, and a family I never thought I deserved. Will you marry me? Will you let me spend the rest of my life proving that I'm worthy of you? More tears. I'd been crying so much since the pregnancy, my emotions always close to the surface. Yes, I whispered. Yes, Kang Dongwoo. I'll marry you. He slipped the ring on my finger, then kissed me with a passion that reminded me why we'd fallen so hard and fast. His hands roamed my body, relearning curves that had changed with pregnancy and were slowly returning to their original shape. I love every version of you, he murmured against my skin. Pregnant with our son, exhausted new parent, powerful businessman. All of you, So-jun. We made love slowly, tenderly, celebrating our engagement and the beautiful life we'd built from chaos and unexpected circumstances. His cucumber filled me perfectly, each thrust deliberate and loving. We moved together in perfect synchronization, our bodies knowing each other intimately after months of passion. When we reached our peak together, crying out in shared ecstasy, I knew with absolute certainty that this was my happy ending. Not perfect, nothing ever was, but real, messy, beautiful, and ours. I stood in the garden of our new home, a sprawling estate outside Seoul where Minho would have room to play safely, watching my son take his first wobbly steps toward his father. At 13 months old, he was curious about everything, fearless, and absolutely adored by everyone who met him. Come to Papa. Dongwoo encouraged, his arms spread wide. You can do it, Minho. Our son took 3 shaky steps before tumbling into Dongwoo's waiting arms, giggling with delight. My heart swelled watching them together. Who would have thought that a medical error would lead to this, to everything I'd ever wanted? My mother approached, linking her arm through mine. You look happy, So-jun, truly happy. I am. I smiled at her. I never thought I'd say that after Min-suk, after everything with the family, but I am. You deserve it. She squeezed my arm. And Dongwoo is a good man. Rough around the edges perhaps, but the way he looks at you and Minho, that's real love. It is. I watched as Dongwoo lifted our son above his head, making airplane noises while Minho squealed with joy. He's everything I never knew I needed. That evening, after our families had left and Minho was asleep, Dongwoo and I sat on our bedroom balcony, looking out over the gardens. Happy? He asked, pulling me against his side. Incredibly. I tilted my head up to kiss him. Thank you for not giving up on me when I was scared. For being patient while I learned to trust again. Thank you for taking a chance on a dangerous criminal with a dark past. He grinned. For seeing past the reputation to the man underneath. I love the man underneath. I settled more comfortably against him. And I love the life we've built. It's not what I planned, it's better. Better than your original plan of single parenthood through IVF? He teased. So much better. I laughed. Though I still think fate has a twisted sense of humor. Of all the sperm in that clinic, mine got mixed up with Seoul's most feared crime lord. Former crime lord, he corrected. I'm a respectable businessman now. You'll never be respectable. I poked his chest playfully. But you're mine, and that's all that matters. He caught my hand, bringing it to his lips. Yours, he agreed. Forever and always, my beautiful Omega. You and Minho are my entire world. We sat there under the stars, planning our wedding that would take place in 2 months, talking about maybe giving Minho a sibling in a year or 2, dreaming about the future. My phone buzzed with a message from my company's CFO about a major deal we'd just closed, and Dongwoo showed me photos his mother had sent of the sweater she was knitting for Minho. Life was beautifully ordinary and extraordinarily special all at once. I'd run from my family seeking peace, built an empire seeking purpose, tried for a baby seeking love. Instead, I'd found a family that accepted me, a partner who cherished me, and a son who completed me. As Dongwoo pulled me closer, his lips finding mine in a kiss that promised forever, I thought about how wrong I'd been to give up on love after Min-suk. Real love wasn't manipulation and conditional affection. Real love was this: compromise and patience, passion and partnership, challenge and growth. I love you, I whispered against his lips. I love you more, he murmured back. My Omega. My So-jun. My everything. And in that moment, with the sounds of our sleeping son drifting from the baby monitor and the warmth of my alpha's arms around me, I knew that this was my true happy ending. Not perfect, not easy, but real and beautiful in ours. Our family, built on an unexpected twist of fate, strengthened by love, and destined for a future brighter than anything I'd ever imagined. The wedding was set for spring when the cherry blossoms would be in full bloom. But tonight, after putting Minho to bed and watching him sleep peacefully in his nursery, Dongwoo led me back to our bedroom with an intensity in his eyes that made my heart race. "We have the whole night to ourselves," he murmured, closing the door softly behind us. "Minho is sound asleep, the baby monitor is on, and I intend to show my fiancé exactly how much I love him." I felt heat rise in my cheeks despite the months we'd been together. "You already show me every day. Not like this." He cupped my face tenderly, his thumb stroking my cheekbones. "Tonight, I want to worship every inch of you. I want to remind you why we're perfect together." His lips found mine in a kiss that started gentle but quickly deepened. His tongue swept into my mouth, tasting and claiming, while his hands slid down to my waist, pulling me flush against him. I could feel his desire pressing against me, and my body responded instantly, my own arousal building. "You're so beautiful," he breathed against my neck, trailing kisses along my jaw. "Every time I look at you, I fall in love all over again." His hands moved to the buttons of my shirt, undoing them with practiced ease. Each newly exposed piece of skin received attention from his lips. A kiss on my collarbone, a gentle bite on my shoulder, his tongue tracing patterns across my chest. When my shirt fell to the floor, he stepped back to admire me, his eyes dark with want. "Perfect," he declared. "Absolutely perfect." "Your turn," I said, my voice husky with need. I reached for his shirt, but my hands were trembling slightly. He helped me, pulling his shirt over his head to reveal the muscled planes of his chest and abdomen. I placed my palms flat against his warm skin, feeling his heart beating rapidly beneath my touch. "You do this to me," he said softly. "Just your touch and I lose all control." We moved to the bed, shedding the rest of our clothes along the way. When we were finally bare before each other, Dongwoo laid me down gently, his body covering mine with careful precision. "I need you," I whispered, my hands sliding down his back. "Please, Dongwoo." "I've got you, my love." His hand moved between us, touching me intimately, preparing me with patient, skilled movements. His fingers worked magic, stretching and readying me while his mouth captured mine in deep kisses that stole my breath. When he finally positioned himself at my entrance, we both paused, our eyes locked. "I love you, Kim So-jun," he said solemnly. "Today, tomorrow, and forever." "I love you too," I replied, pulling him closer. "Always." He entered me slowly, his cucumber sliding into my welcoming warmth inch by careful inch. The sensation was overwhelming, the stretch, the fullness, the intimate connection. We both groaned as he seated himself fully inside me. "Okay?" he asked, his voice strained with the effort of holding still. "More than okay. Perfect." I lifted my hips slightly, encouraging him to move. "Please." He began to move then, setting a rhythm that was both tender and passionate. Each thrust was deliberate, angled to bring maximum pleasure, his cucumber stroking deep inside me. His hands roamed my body, caressing my chest, gripping my hips, tangling in my hair. "You feel incredible," he groaned, his pace increasing slightly. "So warm, so perfect. Like you were made for me." I gasped, wrapping my legs around his waist to pull him deeper. We were made for each other. Our bodies moved together in perfect harmony, a dance we'd practiced many times but that never lost its magic. The pleasure built steadily, waves of sensation washing over me with each movement. His cucumber filled me completely, hitting that perfect spot inside that made stars burst behind my eyelids. "Touch yourself," he commanded gently. "I want to feel you come apart around me." I obeyed, my hand moving between us to stroke myself in time with his thrusts. The dual sensations, his cucumber driving into me from one angle, my hand working from another, pushed me rapidly toward the edge. "That's it, my Omega," he encouraged, his voice rough with his own approaching release. "So beautiful like this. So perfect. Mine." "Yours?" I agreed breathlessly. "Always yours, Dongwoo." The pleasure spiraled higher and higher until I couldn't hold back anymore. My release crashed over me in powerful waves, my body clenching around him as I cried out his name. The sensation of my completion triggered his own, and he buried himself deep, groaning as he found his release, filling me with his warmth. We stayed connected for a long moment, both breathing heavily, our hearts racing in sync. Finally, he carefully withdrew and rolled to his side, immediately pulling me against his chest. "That was..." I couldn't find words adequate to describe it. I know. He kissed my forehead tenderly. It gets better every time. More meaningful. Because it's not just physical, it's our souls connecting. I snuggled closer, my hand resting over his heart. I can't wait to marry you. To make this official in front of everyone we love. 2 more months. He stroked my hair gently. 2 more months and you'll be my husband. Legally, officially, in every way that matters. I'm already yours in every way that matters, I pointed out. The wedding is just a formality. An important formality. He tilted my chin up to look at me. I want everyone to know that Kim So-jun chose me. That despite my past, despite everything I've done, you saw something worth loving. That's a miracle I want to celebrate publicly. Tears pricked my eyes at the vulnerability in his voice. You're worth loving, Kang Dong-woo. Not despite your past but because of how you've overcome it. Because of the man you've become for me and for Minho. He kissed me again, softer this time, filled with tenderness rather than passion. Rest now, my love. Tomorrow we have a busy day, your mother wants to discuss wedding flowers, and I have a meeting with the security team for the venue. Glamorous life we lead, I teased sleepily. The most glamorous, he agreed with a chuckle. Sleep, So-jun. I'll be right here when you wake up. As I drifted off in the arms of the man I loved, I couldn't help but smile. This life, this beautiful, unexpected, perfectly imperfect life, was everything I'd ever dreamed of and more. And in 2 months, I would officially become Dong-woo's husband, sealing our love story that had begun with a medical mistake and blossomed into the greatest gift I'd ever received.